University of Eldoret, Regional Center on Groundwater Resource Education, Training and Research in Eastern Africa. 13, National Environment Tribunal. 14, National Environmental Complaints Committee. 15, Tourism Regulatory Authority. 16, Wildlife Clubs of Kenya. 17, Tourism Fund. 18, Koitalel Samoei University College. 19, Pyrethrum Processing Company of Kenya Limited. 20, the Tea Board of Kenya. 21, Nyayo Tea Zones Development Corporation. 22, National Council for Children's Services. 23, Kenya Airports Authority. 24, Kenyatta International Convention Center. 25, Kenya Forestry Research Institute. 26, Adi Waterworks Development Agency. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, 8th June 2023. Reports of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the following. Number one, nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission. And number two, the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Lands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, June 8th, 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Lands on its consideration of the Land Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
The Honorable Naomi Wako, CBS MP.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I move notice of motion.
I beg to move.
I beg to move notice of motion on urgent action to address the recent surge in road accident in the country. Aware that the National Transport and Safety Authority Act 2012 provides for the establishment of the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, further aware that the authority, in line with the Section 4 of this Act, plays a critical role in ensuring the provision of safe, reliable, and efficient road transport service. Concerned that there has been an alarming surge in road accidents in the recent past, resulting in loss of lives, injuries, and damage to properties. Further concerned that the authority has not effectively and fully performed its functions of regulating safe and reliable transport service, especially in dealing with public service vehicles. Noting that poor maintenance of motor vehicles and lack of proper regulations are leading contributors to the marked increase in road accidents. Deeply concerned that the school-going children are increasingly becoming victims of these road accidents, recognizing that it is the responsibility of the authority to ensure adherence to the road traffic rules and to establish systems and procedures for and oversees the training, testing, and licensing of drivers. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Roads and Transport, undertakes a comprehensive overhaul of the transportation sector to provide for proper regulations of the sector and ensure strict operationalization of the traffic regulations to provide a safer and more reliable transport sector. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Naomi Wako. The Honorable Geoffrey Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion that aware that Kenya is an agricultural-based economy with a significant portion of its population relying on farming for their livelihood, noting that the quality and quantity of crop yield in Kenya has been hampered to a large extent by lack of adequate and quality fertilizers, leading to decreased agricultural productivity and economic losses. Further noting that the government has committed to improving agricultural productivity through various initiatives, including provision of subsidized fertilizers, concerned that the cost, quantity, and quality of fertilizers are subsequently increased due to a number of factors, among them high costs of fertilizers due to markup by private suppliers of fertilizers. Further concerned that threat to food security is a threat to national security. Recognizing that government-to-government model has been noted to lower the costs of products. Further recognizing that there are countries willing to enter into a G2G agreement, appreciating that G2G has been proven to be effective in the provision of services that have a direct impact to citizens' livelihoods, including the cost of living such as supply of fertilizers, particularly in countries with similar agricultural conditions as Kenya. This House therefore resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development and its agencies, adopt 1, the government-to-government model in the acquisition and supply of fertilizers by identifying potential partner countries that have surplus and quality fertilizers. 2, a comprehensive program of government-to-government acquisitions and distribution of fertilizers through, among others, Kenya Farmers Association, Kenya Tea Developmental Agency, Coffee Board of Kenya, Kenya Planters Cooperative Union, Kenya Grain Growers Cooperative Union, Pythagorean Board of Kenya, among others, for increased agricultural productivity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ruku, the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 8th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 171(2)(h) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following members of the Judicial Service Commission, JSC. Number 1, Ms. Caroline Zelani Kingoku Ajoga, and number 2, Honorable Isaac Kiprono Ruto, EGH. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next. Order clerk. Hold on. Honorable members, before I go to the next order, allow me to acknowledge the following institutions in the Speaker's Gallery: Good Testimony School, Embakasi East, Nairobi; Mount Kenya Academy, Nyeri Town, Nyeri; Stepping Stones Elementary School, Kajiado East, Kajiado. On your behalf and on my own behalf, I welcome the institutions to Parliament. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Majority Leader. You,
Honorable Speaker, I think I'd rather start with the CDF one.
whichever you want.
I think in the interest of attention for members, Honorable Speaker, allow me to start with a statement from the National Treasury on CDF, funding of National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, GAF. Honorable Speaker, in a letter dated 8th June 2023, addressed to the Honorable Speaker, and they say reference is made to our letter, their letter, referenced AG 1351, Volume 4, 76, dated 24 January 2023, and wish to update the House as follows on the status of NGCDF and GAF disbursements. 1, National Government Constituency Development Fund. The NGCDF fund was allocated 47.2 billion shillings in the financial year 2022-2023. The National Treasury has so far disbursed Kenya shillings 18 billion. In addition, a further disbursement of 5 billion shillings is being processed to be released on Friday, that's tomorrow. And a further Kenya shillings 5 billion will be released on Tuesday of next week. This brings the total disbursements to Kenya shillings 38 billion. The National Treasury hopes to clear the outstanding balance of 19.2 billion by the close of the financial year. The delay in keeping up with weekly disbursements of Kenya shillings 2 billion was occasioned by challenges in resource mobilization, both domestically and externally. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the heckling from a senior member like the Honorable John Buddy. And he has the liberty to wait for me to read the statement, and he can request, as he knows, to contribute other than heckling, and I'm just reading what is on the statement.
Go ahead.
John Buddy has been here for long enough to know.
Order.
To be a good example to the new members.
Order.
Honorable Speaker, I was saying the delay in keeping up with weekly disbursement of Kenya shillings 2 billion was occasioned by challenges in resource mobilization, both domestically and externally. However, the situation has improved with the disbursement of funds from World Bank Development Policy Operations Facility, which was disbursed this week. 2, on the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, GAF. The National Government Affirmative Fund, GAF, was allocated a budget of 2.13 billion in the financial year 2022-2023. The National Treasury has so far released 50% of this allocation, an amount of 1.065 billion, and is in the process of disbursing the balance of 1.065 billion, constituting the balance of the 50% before the end of this financial year. And as I said, beginning with disbursements tomorrow and Tuesday of next week. Honorable Speaker, it is also worth noting that the National Treasury, in keeping with the commitment made before IBEC and to the nation earlier this week, late last week, and the commitment this week to disburse to our county governments, that from today, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury has released funds and is releasing funds going to our county governments. In conclusion, the National Treasury remains committed to funding NGCDF, GAF, and our county governments, and other items of interest, both to the members of the public and the honorable members of the National Assembly and the Senate, appreciating the support and collaboration between Parliament and the Executive. Yours sincerely, Njuguna Ndungu, Professor CBS, Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, let me also add, besides that written statement, I've had an engagement this morning, and indeed up to this lunchtime, with the CS, National Treasury, Professor Ndungu, who is in Naivasha with the Finance Committee, and he did commit that this statement was coming and asked that we do engage with the Director General, the Director General Accounting Services, Mr. Ndungu, who we have engaged over this lunch hour, and he has confirmed that indeed by tomorrow, as they have committed, he is making arrangements to disburse the 5 billion shillings, and by Tuesday next week, they will have disbursed, another 5 billion shillings. And they commit, Honorable Speaker, saying the challenges have been occasioned by the challenges that we are all aware since we all live in this country. There have been challenges with the exchequer, there has been challenges with receivables in government, Honorable Speaker, and therefore he has committed with the support that they have now received from the World Bank on that facility that they have, and the tax collections they have made, they continue to mobilize. They will be able to disburse all of CDF, and no amount of CDF for this financial year will be carried forward to the next financial year. And I think, Honorable Speaker, that is very important, so that we do not have arrears. As you are aware, Honorable Speaker, the Budget and Appropriations Committee also did allocate some money towards clearance of arrears. They have also indicated that they will clear those arrears, and they do not intend to carry forward arrears from this year into the next financial year. And he has committed that they will endeavor and ask for your thanks, members of Parliament. He did ask me to ask members of Parliament to indulge them, and thank you for your patience over that time, because many of our constituents have been suffering without CDF, Honorable Speaker. I myself, I was in my constituency over the recess period, and I visited at least 3 schools which, as a result of the heavy rains, pit latrines collapsed. And the children in those schools now are using semi-permanent pit latrines because we didn't have even emergency funds. We had cleared all our emergency money, and therefore I, like every other member of this House, I am looking forward to the disbursement of this money, and hopefully by the end of next week, I can promise the children of Karai Day Secondary School, those of Gadhiru Primary School, and one other school which I can't remember offhand, Honorable Speaker, who have requested for emergency funding for toilets and other needs, including bursary, Honorable Speaker, they should be able to assuage. But Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, let me also plead. And I don't do this on behalf of the National Treasury, I do this as a leader in this country. That is, it is so easy to say things that will excite the masses out there. But we all live in this country, and we lived in this country before this year. And we know the situation of our economy. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, even as we engage on matters that we will be engaging on this afternoon on budget, on the appropriations report, or the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, let it be at the back of our minds that whatever expenditures we are discussing, and including NGCDF, because it is in that report. And the Honorable John Mbadi, we remember back in 2018, we got to a point where we even had to take a haircut on NGCDF. It is good that at least in the last 2 years, amidst all the difficulties, we have not had to take a haircut either on NGCDF or on any other government projects, including the 900 billion shillings of roads committed to over the last 5 years. And this government, Honorable Speaker, has indicated that they intend to finance all those roads across the country without discriminating that this project is in Kikuyu or is in John Buddy's former constituency, or in the constituency of the leader of minority, so that we are able to mobilize resources. Honorable Speaker, I have seen very good analysts on our TV stations. Some saying, oh, the first thing you should do is completely cut on expenditure. Stop all the development projects. But Honorable Speaker, those who have been to a class of economics, like the Honorable Babu Owino, will tell you, if you are to do that, you will be shooting yourselves right in the middle of your toe, the big toe, and you will not be able to work as a country and as an economy. Because it is these development projects that spur economic growth in our countries. When roads are being constructed in your constituencies, they create employment, and people therefore are able even to raise more taxes because they have disposable income. If we were to go that route, Honorable Speaker, as I've seen some analysts on TV encourage us to do, and I say this, Honorable Speaker, because this afternoon we have before us, I know when we were here up to 9 p.m., many of us were not here. We have the second reading on the budget and appropriations report. As we contribute, it is good that we have that at the back of our minds. That even as analysts who seem very knowledgeable on TV, but I must say some are ignorantly knowledgeable. Because you just need to have attended a basic economics class to know that if you are to cut down on government expenditure, government is the single largest spender of resources. And without disbursement of resources from government, be it at the national level or at the county level, this economy will come to a standstill, Honorable Speaker. And we must therefore, even as we consider this budget appropriations report, have at the back of our minds that also what we will finance is what will be before us when the Finance Committee finally tables their report, Honorable Speaker. And without much more, Honorable Speaker, on that matter, if you allow me to move on to the second statement, my usual Thursday statement on the House Business Committee. Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Millie. What is the point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Majority Leader for presenting that. And I just wish, before I raise my point of order, to applaud him to laud him for acknowledging that the last two years, I hope he's seeing that I'm underlining the last 2 years, CDF was not reduced. And I'm glad that he's also acknowledging the challenges of running a government. He's always been complaining, now he's on the receiving end. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted the Majority Leader to clarify that he's actually indicated that the World Bank has given some money, and he has further said that today, money is being disbursed to the counties, and every day we sit here, money is disbursed to the counties, but we shoot ourselves on the foot because we are the ones who prepare the budget, and there's no money taken to NGCDF. Why are we not prioritizing NGCDF and GAF? Why are we not prioritizing ourselves? Why are we treating ourselves as children of a lesser God? So, yes, second-class citizens, and we are the ones who are in charge of the budget. So, Mr. Speaker, if the Majority Leader could please explain why that money from the World Bank is not prioritized to us, and secondly, why we are putting counties ahead of the national government money, CDF. And our counties, people are suffering. I'm glad you have said that your toilets are down. Even ours, the toilets are down, and the classes are down with roofs and the rains, and roads are completely messed up. So why are we not prioritizing NGCDF? You know, I'm annoyed until now I'm getting a Kikuyu accent. So can you please explain to us why you are not prioritizing? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go on with your next statement.
Honorable Speaker, Millie says she's getting a Kikuyu accent with prioritizing. But NGCDF, in fact, I've just seen Mr. Ndungu is watching, and he's just sent me a text saying NGCDF and GAF, today we are funding the 5 billion and next week. So he's actually disbursing today, but it will hit the accounts of the board tomorrow. So maybe I've not gotten that right. But as Millie has asked, Honorable Speaker, it is indeed true. Prioritization is with NGCDF and money to the counties. As I've indicated, counties are being funded, and NGCDF is second. Therefore, that, Honorable Speaker, I think is clear that there is that prioritization. And lastly, Honorable Millie, I am yet to run any government. Hopefully, after William Ruto finishes his term, probably myself and the Honorable Speaker will have the opportunity to run a government. I am now oversighting one. Honorable Speaker, allow me now to move to the usual statement on behalf of the House Business Committee.
Order. That statement on CDF is self-explanatory. The only person who raised the issue was Robert Mbui. After he finishes his second statement, I'll give you 2 minutes to make a comment and close it there.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to welcome all members again, once again, back to the after the long recess.
On the same matter, Masara?
Mr. Speaker, for the first time I've heard the majority leader calling the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto. Do you in any way trying to tell us that you have removed other titles now that you are discussing CDF, Mr. Ichungwa? It is quite out of order for you, the leader of majority, not to use all the titles somebody has earned. So it seems things are not right with the majority leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. That is a most frivolous point of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. But, Honorable Speaker, you must appreciate the Honorable Masara. At least now he's not protesting and saying he does not recognize President William Ruto. His Excellency President William Samoei Arap Ruto as the president. At least now he appreciates that the president is Dr. William Samoei Ruto. Honorable Speaker, I wish to welcome back members after the long recess and trust that you are all well refreshed for this part of the second session. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, the Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, CBS, appeared before the National Assembly plenary to answer questions on education matters yesterday, Wednesday, 7th June 2023. I would like to thank members for their continued active participation in this process. With regard to the business for next week, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee has scheduled debate on special motions on consideration for a nominee for appointment as the Director General of the National Intelligence Service and 2 nominees for appointment as members of the Judicial Service Commission for next Tuesday. The House is also expected to continue with the debate on the second reading of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill 2022 and the following motions should they not be concluded today. 1, the general debate on the report on the consideration of the budget estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term. 2, report on the ratification of the amended Nairobi Convention and the protocol for the protection of marine and coastal environment of the Western Indian Ocean from land-based sources and activities. 3 is a report on ratification of the Kigali Amendment on the Montreal Protocol on the substances that deplete the ozone layer. 4 is a report on ratification of the Bamako Convention on the ban of the importation into Africa and the control of transboundary movement and management of hazardous waste within Africa. And 5, report of the Kenyan delegation to the Parliamentary Dialogue on United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, and Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption, GOPAC Annual General Meeting. Honorable Speaker, at the conclusion of the general debate on the budget estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term, the House will also consider the annual estimates in the Committee of Supply during the week. On Thursday, 15th June 2023, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Professor Njuguna Ndongo, CBS, will make a public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term as communicated by the Honorable Speaker on Tuesday, 6th June 2023. The House Business Committee shall reconvene on Tuesday, 13th June 2023 to schedule business for the rest of the week. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 42A 5 and 6, I wish to convey that the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection is scheduled to appear before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 14th June 2023 to respond to the following questions. One, question number 088 of 2023 by the member for Konoin constituency, the Honorable Brighton Yegon, MP, regarding the welfare of Kenyans working in Saudi Arabia and efforts geared towards regulated licensing of recruiting agencies. Two, question number 089 of 2023 by the member for Yatta constituency, the Honorable Robert Basil, MP, regarding incorporation of senior citizens into the older persons cash transfer scheme. Three, question number 090 of 2023 by the member for Konoin constituency, the Honorable Brighton Yegon, MP, regarding formulation policy framework to support children whose parents or guardians are incarcerated. Four, question number 091 of 2023 by the member for Machakos County, the Honorable Joyce Kamene, MP, regarding the plight of orphans, widows, and widowers in the country. Five, question number 092 of 2023 by the member for Kirinyaga County, the Honorable Njeri Maina, MP, regarding the effectiveness of Inua Jamii program since its inception. And finally, question number 160 of 2023 by the member for Kiambu constituency, the Honorable Mashua Waithaka, MP, regarding eligibility of cancer survivors being registered as persons with disabilities. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 42A, 5 and 6, I wish to convey that the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development is scheduled to appear before the House on the same afternoon of Wednesday, 14th June 2023, to respond to the following questions. One, question number 084, 2023 by the member for Mwingi Central, the Honorable Gideon Muliungi, MP, regarding resurveying and correction of titles for parcels of land in Mui Coal Basin, adjudication, survey and title deed issuance for parcels in Mwingi East Sub-County bordering Tana River County. Two, question number 085 of 2023 by the member for Mwingi Central constituency, the Honorable Gideon Muliungi, again, regarding the high-mast security lighting projects undertaken in Mwingi Town. Three, question number 086 of 2023 by the member for Saboti constituency, the Honorable Caleb Amisi, MP, regarding the governance and administrative structures of Kwale International Sugar Company, ownership status of property, land reference number 5004/30/R, and also number 27742. Four, question number 087 of 2023 by the member for Laisamis constituency, the Honorable Joseph Lekuton, MP, regarding Laisamis constituency and county boundaries. Five, question number 109 of 2023 by the member for Nakuru East constituency, the Honorable David Gikaria, MP, regarding the Kazim Tani project phase 3 in 2022 in Nakuru Town East constituency. Question number 117 of 2023 by the member for Embakasi West constituency, the Honorable Mark Mwenje, MP, regarding status of ownership of land reference number 12304, original number 1344/1, and 12504 and 12147, original numbers 11344/4, EMCO. Honorable Speaker, I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you. And apologies, it was a long one today.
Thank you, honorable members. I wish to acknowledge in the public gallery Miharati Boys High School, Kipipiri, Nyandarua, Moi High School, Kabarak, Rongai, Nakuru, Arokuyet Girls High School, Bureti, Kericho. On my behalf and on your behalf, I wish to welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Wanjiku Muya has asked me for 1 minute to welcome a school from her constituency. 1 minute exactly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I take this opportunity to welcome Miharati Boys, one of our great schools from our sub-county headquarters in Kipipiri, and they could not have visited this National Assembly a better time than during budget, and now they have heard from the majority leader. They have good news to take home, inform the parents that NGCDF will be disbursed tomorrow, and your long-awaited computer lab will kickstart construction, and on its completion, we shall ask the majority leader to come and open it so that you can relate your trip in the National Assembly and this budget of this year. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Robert Mbui, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to just clarify that even as I raised this question in the last assembly, this issue of CDF is not an issue of members of parliament, because sometimes the public gets confused. Members of parliament are interested in ensuring that this money goes to the constituencies for development of the constituencies. And I want to thank the majority leader for highlighting even some of the challenges that he's having. Mr. Speaker, my concern is on the dignity of the House. Remember that the CS Treasury has already given 2 letters confirming that money will be disbursed, 2 billion every week, and the first time he failed, the second time he has failed. Simple English tells me that once bitten, twice shy. I don't know when twice bitten what you say, because Mr. Speaker, 2 times we have actually not gotten the result of what we wanted. And Mr. Speaker, as we discuss the budget, it is clear that one of the things we have to do is appropriate the funds. The other one is to ensure that there's prudent expenditure of the same funds. Now, we are just a month to the end of the financial year. And we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, from what the majority leader has told us, 38% of this money has been released in the last 11 months. And now he wants us to believe, Mr. Speaker, that we will be able to get 62% within 1 month. Mr. Speaker, I want to propose as follows, Mr. Speaker, because we are the ones dealing with the budget. And Mr. Speaker, if for 11 months we have not been able to get the funds for this financial year for National Government Constituency Development Fund, GAF, and also the counties, maybe we suspend the debate on the budget until this money hits our accounts. Then we can come back. You can call us on Saturday, you can call us on Sunday, any day we can come and continue. But let us give them an opportunity to put the money in their accounts, because what they are telling us they'll do in a month, they can do in a day if they are willing to do that. Mr. Speaker, I propose no CDF, no budget. No money for counties, no budget. More GAF, no budget, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Robert Mbui, you brought a very noble request. I would have easily said, go and talk to the Treasury. I directed the majority leader to bring you a response, which he has brought. And they said they are disbursing the money. The debate on the budget is ongoing, and the question will not even be put today. We have up to next week. So I want to encourage you that extremist position is unhelpful, and that we do not encourage it. When we reach the order, we carry on with the debate, robustly debate as you always do. A budget statement will be presented to this House on Thursday. It falls within the period within which the majority leader has said money will be disbursed. What I thought you would be negotiating is that when the money is disbursed, I don't know what the regulations say, that when the end of the financial year truncates every expenditure, you ring-fence that money to carry on with the programs. If it is safe, then you need not worry. Then we need, I encourage you to engage with the majority leader. And if you have any issues, you can refer to me, because I have constantly gone beyond my duty of call as your speaker to engage the Treasury, to disburse even funds for your mileage claims, for those who get mileage, for your subsistence, and for other things that encourage us to run the house. So I want you to also be fair and patient, and I thank you for raising the issue, because it has elicited a response that looks positive. It may be inadequate, but it's positive. Honorable Ichungwa, Order Wanjala, Honorable Ichungwa, the women rep for Kilifi, has come here to request the chair to ask you whether the disbursement coming today includes money for women MPs. And I thought I heard you say so. So, Honorable Mbeyu, your question is answered. I will, I'm not encouraging any debate on this. Honorable Mbeyu, take your seat, please. He has said he spoke for CDF and women money as well, so you don't need to speak to it. Take your seat. Take your seat. Order. Honorable Mbeyu, when the speaker tells you to take your seat, you gracefully take your seat. And when you came to the chair to make a request, you and I agreed that I'll put it to him, which I have done, and he has given an answer. Now you are reneging on what we just agreed, and that is not being honorable. So I want to... Next order. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, general debate on the proposal to Parliament to consider amending the Constitution and the standing orders. Question to be put.
Order, honorable member, take your seat. I'm putting the question on this matter. Honorable members, I now put the question on the general debate on the proposal to Parliament to consider amending the Constitution and the standing orders. That noting the contents of a memorandum submitted to Parliament by His Excellency the President, asking Parliament to consider initiating amendments to the Constitution, acknowledging that actualization of the proposals which relate to inter alia the composition of Parliament as provided for in Article 97 and 98 of the Constitution, in order to attain the 2/3 gender principle, the creation of the office of Leader of Official Opposition in Parliament, and the inclusion of various funds in the Constitution will necessitate amendment to the Constitution, while the restructuring of parliamentary oversight to allow for cabinet secretaries to appear before the House of Parliament to respond to questions by members would require the amendments of standing orders, further acknowledging that the Speaker, via the notification issued on 9th December 2022, referred the matter raised in the memorandum to the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs with regard to proposals relating to the implementation of the 2/3 gender principle and the establishment of the office of the Leader of Official Opposition. The Joint Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, with regard to the proposals to amend the Constitution to entrench the constituency development, Senate oversight, and national government affirmative action funds, and the Procedure and House Rules Committee with regard to the proposals to amend the standing orders to strengthen parliamentary oversight of the executive so as to facilitate public participation pursuant to Article 118 of the Constitution. Now, therefore, pursuant to the provisions of Article 1, 2, and 95(2) of the Constitution, this House notes, considers, and makes general comments on the proposals contained in the memorandum by His Excellency the President. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2023-2024, general debate, day 2, resumption of debate.
The member for Wajir North was on the floor, and you have a balance of 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may proceed from where I was interrupted yesterday in supporting the budget appropriation report, I want to say that the budget estimate entrenches equitable and sustainable equitable tax and equity and sustainability in both tax and expenditure. Mr. Speaker, this was first seen and actually last seen during Kibaki's term in the Vision 2030 and the Economic Stimulus Program. And most of these are fundamental principles in our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it is critical the situation of fiscal management in our nation that has been built over time since independence. The failure to rationalize the 2 tiers of government, both national and county government. Mr. Speaker, I can't listen. I can't hear. There's too much noise.
Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Order, majority whip. Will you take your seats? Order. Order, honorable members. We are debating a very important issue, budgets. And it's good to hear your colleagues as they give their views, just like they'll hear you when you give yours. So those members who want to converse, we can't stop you. You can walk out to the corridor, or there are rooms behind the speaker's chair. You can go there and engage in your conversations, and allow those who are interested in debate, carry on with the debate and hear debate. Carry on, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was saying we are in a very critical situation in the fiscal management of our nation that was built over time in terms of tax management, corruption, wastage since independence, and the failure to rationalize the 2 tiers of government, both the county and the national government, in terms of size and operations since 2010. This was further exacerbated by the handshake, which has led to stalled projects and indiscriminate borrowing, Mr. Speaker. These are serious times which can make and break this nation. We are in a very hard situation, and this demands for our collective support of all to find a sustainable situation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the elephant in the room is the diminished public trust in our institutions. In regard to grievances largely emanating from inability to tame economic indiscipline, inequity, marginalization, discrimination in terms of investment and use of public resources, corruption in all forms, and public resource wastage. Mr. Speaker, first on the equity and sustainability. Though I'm not a finance expert, I believe the regulations and administration set within the budget estimate guarantee that there is a balance in terms of tax balance between the haves and the have-nots, at least the major corporates are brought on board to make sure that they pay substantially. There is zero rating of food production, fertilizers, and all other technologies, and a really stringent tax administration to counter avoidance and evasions of tax payment, Mr. Speaker. Further, Mr. Speaker, the sustainability of tax principle is more visible in the revenue, in the expenditure perspective, I mean, Mr. Speaker. Our government has been allocating development and investment along the railway line during the colonial time, which was further inherited by the government from 1963. There was a skewed distribution of development, and since then, we have had disparities in terms of allocations. Equity has not been.
Time up. Member for Chuka Igambangombe. Patrick Mwiga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I like to support this report on the 23rd, 24th financial year budget estimate as tabled by the Budget and Appropriation Committee. Mr. Speaker, the Budget and Appropriation Committee report proposes to increase the allocation to health sector from shillings 140 billion to shillings 141 billion for the financial year 23-24. This support, Mr. Speaker, will build a progressive, responsive, and a sustainable healthcare system for accelerated attainment of the highest standards of health for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, this will guarantee a healthy, productive, and globally competitive nation for sustainable economic growth and development. Mr. Speaker, in order to realize this, the committee remains committed to the actualization of UHC, that is universal health coverage, through implementation of the National Social Health Insurance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, we want to move NHIF from being an insurance scheme to a social scheme so that we can be able to cover all Kenyans under the UHC program. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Health is focused on ensuring Kenyans access quality health services through consistent supply of health commodities. We have had issues at KEMSA, Mr. Speaker, and we are working on that. We have really worked on that to make sure commodities reach Kenyans, to enhance capacity for human resource for health, to provide integrated health information system and the social insurance to targeted vulnerable households. In an effort to change bias from curative to preventive and promotive health, the government is focused on strengthening primary health care through resourcing the primary health facilities, establishment of primary care networks, and strengthening community health services. This, Mr. Speaker, means we want to move this country more from concentrating on curative to preventive and promotive so that we can be able to save on the money that is spent on curing diseases that we can prevent, Mr. Speaker. It's this backdrop that the committee approved shillings 1 billion allocated to recruitment of 44,444 community health volunteers. We will steer the revitalization of primary health care in the country. Mr. Speaker, in establishing the community health networks, we need community health workers who will be looking at households, communities, so that we can be able to detect diseases and all the problems in the community as they arise, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the proposed budget for financial year 23-24 is prepared based on the better approach, that is a bottom-up economic transformation model for the Kenya Kwanza government that sets out the administration priority program, policies, reforms to be implemented attentive. The agenda is geared towards economic turnaround and inclusive growth and aim to increase investment in 5 sectors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's again in this backdrop that the Committee on Health approved shillings 20 billion for the bottom-up economic transformation model that is directly linked to this model. This includes increasing accessibility to universal health coverage, local manufacturing of vaccines. Mr. Speaker, we realize that as a country 60 years after independence, we buy all our vaccines from outside, and Kenya has a capacity, Mr. Speaker, to produce these vaccines. So as a committee and as a ministry, we want to empower the Ministry of Health that Kenya can start producing their own vaccines and stop all these importations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we also want to digitalize the health records in this country completely so that we can be able to know our health status and the diseases to concentrate on and what causes what at which area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support this report, and on behalf of the Health Committee, I thank the Budget Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Nabi Nabwera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by saying that having looked at the budget estimates, 2023-2024, and Mr. Speaker, noting that I am a member of first the Education Committee and the Public Accounts Committee, are various issues to raise. Mr. Speaker, the first issue I want to raise is that when I look at this budget, at the backdrop of having only one teacher by JSS class, and that instead of increasing more money to the education sector, we are doubling money in the Office of the President, we are doubling money in NIS vote, we are doubling money, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, in the Office of the Deputy President. I have problems that we are not being sensitive to the Kenyan child. We are not being sensitive to the times that we are living in. The second problem I have with this budget, as I look at it, Mr. Speaker, it is the money in the infrastructure sector. The Constitution 2010 provides that any expenditure must be equitable, that the programs of the government must involve all parts of the country. When I look at the money that is going to fund infrastructure, it is going to fund infrastructure in particular sections of the country at the expense of the others. The question I keep on asking, are these people paying tax or not? The third point, Mr. Speaker, on this budget is in the energy sector. Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency where 37 educational institutions are not provided with electricity, despite the fact that this House passed a motion indicating that all schools, all educational institutions must be provided with electricity. When I look at the budget lines, I don't see my constituency and other constituencies whose schools are not provided by electricity catered for. Mr. Speaker, I'm persuaded to think today, unless advised otherwise, that the increase in the money for defense indicates that then as a government, we are encouraging the problem in the Rift Valley. We are actually funding bandits. If not, what reason do we have to increase money for defense at the expense of the Kenyan child? Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency that has been marginalized in development for many years. There is a road called C44, which connects 5 counties, Uasin-Gishu, Kakamega, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, and partly Nandi. Looking at this budget, this road has been that road has been launched 4 times, twice by Kibaki, twice by the Jubilee government. And even the current president, when he was the deputy president, he came to launch the road at Panpepa. Today, when I look at the budget estimates, there is no single cent for C44. Are we not Kenyans? Mr. Speaker, I have an issue of land. And when I look at this budget, I get concerned. The other day, I saw a letter from the CS Treasury asking for the Minister of Lands to exercise 2 forests. And when I look at this budget, there is provision for those 2 forests. Unfortunately, for the squatters living in Manzini Forest in Tarbo and squatters living in Mautuma Sendro, who are given land in 1992, they have not been provided for. What kind of country is this where we marginalize a section and provide for another? Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the estimates with amendments at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Allow me to stay this debate and go back to order number 2 and deliver the following communication. An update on the replacement of the Deputy Minority Whip. Honorable members, you will recall that on Thursday, 4th May 2023, I issued a communication on the replacement of the Deputy Minority Whip. In that communication, I did guide the House that the communication received from the Minority Party with regard to the replacement of the Honorable Sabina Chege as the Deputy Minority Whip was incomplete when viewed against the requirements of Standing Order 20A. Consequently, I granted the Minority Party a period of 30 days within which to convey the appropriate communication on the replacement of its Deputy Minority Whip, if it so wished. I now wish to update the House on further developments that have taken place with regard to the matter since my communication of 4th May 2023. Firstly, honorable members, my office is in receipt of letters dated 4th May 2023 from the Jubilee Party terminating the membership of the Honorable Kanini Kega and the Honorable Sabina Chege MP. The letters are addressed to the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties and the Speaker of the National Assembly. In relation to the said termination, my office has further been copied in correspondence from the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties dated 8th May 2023, requesting for particulars from the Jubilee Party on the process leading to the termination of the membership of the Honorable Kanini Kega and the Honorable Sabina Chege. Secondly, my office was copied in correspondence dated 2nd June 2023 between the Jubilee Party and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition. In the correspondence, a Mr. Nelson Zuya, who signed off as the national chairperson of the Jubilee Party, requested the Speakers of Parliament to refrain from effecting changes to the leadership of Parliament and committee membership pending the determination of a dispute between the party and the Azimio coalition. Thirdly, and of most importance, on 31st May 2023, my office also received a letter from the leader of the Minority Party, the Honorable James Opio Wandai, MGH MP, communicating the election of the Honorable Member for Embakasi West, the Honorable Mark Mwenje, MP, as the Deputy Minority Whip. In his letter, the leader of the Minority Party conveyed that the election was done at a meeting held by the Minority Party on Tuesday, 30th May 2023. Further, the leader of the Minority Party indicated that the letter was a follow-up to his earlier letter dated 6th April 2023, which notified the Speaker of the removal of the Honorable Sabina Chege MP as the Deputy Minority Whip. Members, take your seats. The nearest seats. The nearest seats. Thank you. Honorable members, in keeping with the requirements of Standing Order 20A, the letter from the leader of the minority party, accompanied by minutes of the meeting at which the removal and replacement of the whip was done, and a record of the membership of the minority party present at the meeting, suffices to effect the changes sought by the minority party. Fourthly, honorable members, my office has also been served with a court order issued on Tuesday, 30th May 2023, in Kiambu High Court petition number E-025 of 2023. The parties to the matter in question are the Association of Friends of Youths and Women as the petitioner, and the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Clerk of the National Assembly, the National Assembly itself, and the Attorney General as respondents. In the petition, the petitioners argue that the Standing Order 20A 4 of the National Assembly Standing Orders does not clearly outline the process for the removal of a whip or a deputy whip, and is therefore contrary to Articles 10, 47, 732, and 236 of the Constitution. For the benefit of members, the orders issued by the court in the matter are as follows, and I quote, that the application is certified as urgent, that pending the hearing and determination of the application, conservatory order be and is hereby issued suspending the implementation of the decision to remove Honorable Sabina Chege from the office of the Deputy Minority Whip in the National Assembly as communicated by the first respondent on 4th May 2023. That the applicant petitioner to serve the respondents within 7 days from the date hereof. That the respondents to file and serve their respective responses within 7 days of being served by the applicant and petitioner. That the mention on 14th June 2023 for parties to confirm compliance and take further directions from court number 2. Honorable members, the Constitution has distributed sovereign power to the three arms of government in a very deliberate manner. Through a robust system of checks and balances, the Constitution has granted each arm sufficient powers to discharge its mandate and defend itself from unwarranted intrusion from either arm at the same time. For government to work in a harmonious fashion, each arm ought to refrain from inordinately wading into the internal affairs of its counterparts. With regard to the affairs of the legislature, the executive may make general legislative proposals, but Parliament is solely vested with the mandate of enacting laws. Similarly, though the court is granted powers to enforce and interpret the Constitution, it normally refrains from interfering with the internal processes of the legislature. Members, take your seats, the nearest seats. The nearest seats, please. Article 165(6) of the Constitution grants the High Court supervisory jurisdiction over any person, body, or authority exercising a judicial or quasi-judicial function. In line with the dictates of this article, the courts have all along distinguished the legislative role of Parliament from its administrative and quasi-judicial functions. Order, Honorable Mbade and Sabina Chege. Consequently, the courts have only exercised their supervisory jurisdiction to review the quasi-judicial and administrative functions of the Parliament when either vetting or considering petitions for the removal of persons from office. However, honorable members, the courts have always refrained from interfering with the lawmaking powers of Parliament. They have consistently limited themselves to reviewing the content of bills after their enactment into law. Indeed, any interference of the court in the consideration of a bill that is actively before the legislature would constitute a striking departure from established constitutional precedent and practice both in the Commonwealth and the congressional systems. This is a matter which both the court itself and my predecessors have ruled on. In South Africa, the court has held as much in the celebrated case of Doctors for Life International versus the Speaker of the National Assembly and others, CCT 12 of 206, ZACC 11. In declining to interfere in the consideration of a bill, the court held that South African constitutional scheme contemplates that challenges to the constitutional validity of a bill passed by Parliament must await the completion of the legislative process. Honorable members, with the foregoing distinction in mind, I note that the House has been taken before the courts, the courts, including by its own members, and the courts have ruled both in favor and against this House. The House will recall that in the 11th Parliament, the leader of the minority party, the current leader, the Honorable James Opio Andai, MGH MP, did successfully challenge his suspension from the service of the House for the remainder of the 4th session. In his suit, the Honorable Member for Ugunja challenged provisions of the standing orders on the fairness of the penalties relating to disorderly conduct and their effect on the constitutional right of a member to represent his or her constituents. The litigation by the leader of the minority party significantly contributed to the amendments made to the standing orders to provide for different categories of disorderly conduct, graduated penalties ranging from suspension for a day to a maximum of 90 calendar days and an appellate process. During the same 11th Parliament, members will also recall that the court injuncted the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning and Lands from considering petitions submitted to the House for the removal of the then Auditor General and the then Chairperson of the National Land Commission, respectively, pursuant to the provisions of Article 251 of the Constitution. Despite the disaffection of the House and the Presidium with the orders granted in the foregoing cases, the House nevertheless observed the directions issued by the court and halted its quasi-judicial and administrative processes. Notably, in guiding the House on the order issued with regard to the petition for the removal of the Auditor General, my predecessor, the Honorable Speaker Justin Muturi, rightly noted that the only avenue available in law to express disagreement with a judicial finding is an appeal against the decision of the court. Honorable members, I have in this 13th Parliament had occasion to uphold my predecessor's guidance in relation to court orders made against the House and its committees in relation to the exercise of quasi-judicial and administrative functions. Members will recall that on 15th of November 2022, the Employment and Labor Relations Court granted conservatory orders staying the vetting of nominees for appointment as principal secretaries in Constitutional Petition E186 of 2022, Dr. Mogare Gikeni versus the President of the Republic of Kenya, and 55 others, and in Constitution Petition number E192 of 2022, the Law Society of Kenya versus the National Assembly, and 4 others. In deference to the directions of the court with respect to the applicable administrative process, I did notify the House of the suspension of the vetting process despite the discomfort that the decision caused to the business of this House. Immediately thereafter, I instructed our litigation counsel to challenge the orders in court. As your Speaker, I remain cognizant of the obligation imposed by Article 3 of the Constitution on me to respect, defend, and uphold the Constitution in guiding the proceedings of the House. On one hand, the minority party has met all the procedural requirements to effect a change of its leadership. On the other hand, I'm confronted by a court order that specifically cited both the Speaker and the House as parties to a judicial process that seems to challenge an administrative process. Despite the sympathies I may hold for the predicament that the minority party finds itself, this House has consistently demonstrated its willingness to abide by orders of the court relating to the exercise of its quasi-judicial and administrative functions. Even where certain orders have been adverse to the interests of the House, we have dutifully obeyed them and sought to set aside the orders that we were not in agreement with. Honorable members, from the foregoing, my hands are therefore tied with regard to the court order that has been brought to my attention. Until and unless further information is provided that this order has been varied or set aside, the court order effectively suspends the decision by the minority party on the replacement of the Honorable Sabina Chege as the deputy minority whip. As a seasoned legislator and experienced party leader myself, my heart sinks whenever I see a dispute that may be resolved through internal dispute resolution mechanisms being referred to in an adversarial court system. In my experience, court battles may be counterproductive and may ultimately destroy long-standing political relationships. I encourage the minority party and the Jubilee Party to seek an amicable resolution of whatever it is that may be the bone of contention with the coalition and between the members of its constituent party. I am confident that an amicable resolution of the issues shall positively contribute to the continuity of the business of the House and its vibrancy. In issuing my communication of 4th May 2023, I did guide that I was hesitant to recognize the Jubilee Party as a parliamentary party despite its meeting the threshold prescribed under the standing order. At this stage, I'm still hesitant to recognize the party. Order, order, order. Obviously, the two gracious ladies are not being choked by anything, and their conduct is constituting a nuisance, and any further interruptions will attract some penalties. Honorable members, in the current situation persists and provided with all relevant particulars by the Jubilee Party, I may have no choice but to recognize the party. In the meantime, what is available to Honorable Wandai, I have ruled that you have procedurally followed every step and have no difficulty with your decision to remove your deputy whip. But there is a court order to which, strangely, your party and your coalition is not a part of the proceedings. I would advise you that you seek to join yourselves with the proceedings. If you wish, and pursue the matter in court, I have already instructed our litigation team to end appearance and robustly defend the Speaker, the Clerk, and the National Assembly in this matter. It is so ordered. Order. 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 Honorable Millie and Honorable, you will leave the chamber. Honorable Millie. Order. 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 Honorable Millie. Order. 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 Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members. Order. Take your seats. Order, take your seats. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, take your seats. Order, take your seats. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, take your seats. Take your seats. Order. Take your seat. You can do better than that, Kajwang. Order. 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 Order, order, Millie. Order. 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 Orderlies, I order Honorable Rosa Buyu and Honorable Millie Odhiambo to leave the chamber. Honorable Rosa Buyu and Honorable Millie Odhiambo, you are ordered to leave the chamber. You are ordered to leave the chamber. Honorable Rosa Buyu and Honorable Millie Odhiambo, you leave the chamber. Order. Honorable Rosa Buyu and Millie Odhiambo will leave the chamber. You will leave the chamber. Yes. Sergeant? Yeah? Order. Honorable Rosa Boyo and Mele Odhiambo will leave the chamber. Sergeant, will you ensure the two members are out of the chamber? Sergeant, ensure the two members are out of the chamber. Sergeants, enforce the order of the chair, Sergeant. Honorable Kajwang, take your seat. Order, honorable members. Kajwang. Honorable Sergeant, can you enforce the order of the chair? Honorable Rosa Buyu and Honorable Mele. Order, honorable members. Order. Kajwa. Order. Order. Honorable Mbadi, you are the seniors of this house. You can do better. Honorable Kajwang. Honorable Kajwang, take your seat. Take your seat, I'll hear you. I want to see Rosa Buyu and Mele leave the chamber. Order. Order. Order, honorable members. Sergeant, can you take the two members out? Sergeant, will you take out the two suspended members? Honorable Kajwang, you'll also follow. You'll also follow. Sergeant. Sergeant, can you enforce the order of the chair? Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. The House will take a short recess of 15 minutes. Lower the mess, and the House is suspended for 15 minutes. Order, honorable members. Take your seats. Take your seats. Order, honorable members. Badi, call me Wandai. Wandai. What is your advice? Order, sergeants. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, as you are aware, the sitting of this afternoon was suspended for 15 minutes. This suspension was occasioned by actions and or utterances by various members of the House, contrary to Standing Order 107 and 107A. Specifically, the said members, among other things, defied a ruling of the Speaker, made disruptive utterances, used violence against a member of the House, and acted in a manner to the serious detriment of the dignity of the House. Honorable members, I wish to advise you that we need at all times to observe decorum in the House and the dignity of the House. Honorable members, as your Speaker, I'm saddened at what I've witnessed this afternoon. I have consistently refrained myself from invoking standing orders relating to the discipline of the House. Following what has happened this afternoon, I want to direct as follows. The following members, having flouted the standing orders of the House by menacing each other, shouting at the chair, and making all manner of unprintable utterances, I will invoke the provisions of Standing Order 107A, grossly disorderly conduct. The following members are guilty of grossly disorderly conduct. Number 1, Millie Odhiambo. Number 2, Rosa Buyu. Number 3, Sabina Chege. Number 4, Fatuma Muyanzi. Number 5, Catherine Omanyo. Number 6, Joyce Kamene. And lastly, TJ Kajwang. Those members, honorable members, Standing Order 107.3 reads as follows. The Speaker may call a member whose conduct is grossly disorderly to order and shall order the member to withdraw immediately from the presence of Parliament for a maximum of 5 days and a maximum of 28 days. In this regard, therefore, the following members will suffer the following fate. Millie Odhiambo, 2 weeks. Rosa Buyu, 2 weeks. Fatuma Muyanzi, 5 days. Catherine Omanyo, 5 days. Joyce Kamene, 2 sittings. TJ Kajwang, 2 weeks. Sabina Chege, 2 weeks. Sergeant, can you have those members out of the chamber? Yes. What's the point of order? Murugara?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we were in the middle of debating the motion on the budget estimates. And most of the members have spoken and they're in agreement and in support. Under Standing Order number 95, I do apply to you, the Speaker, to allow the mover to reply.
All the honorable members, I'll put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. With those of the kind of opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank all the members who have contributed to this debate and motion, Mr. Speaker, in regards to the budget estimates for financial year 2023-2024. As you have noted, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of proposals, Mr. Speaker, on where we'll be expending our resources. We are taking 30% of our budget into education, Mr. Speaker. which is 630 billion Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, we have also input the monies to expend for fertilizer for our farmers. Mr. Speaker, we have also allocated 3 billion Kenya shillings that will go into finishing the ongoing ESP markets, Mr. Speaker, and many much more, Mr. Speaker, proposals. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to members, Mr. Speaker, and benefited from their opinions and contributions. What I want to assure all the members is that we'll make sure that this budget and these estimates, Mr. Speaker, will be implemented to the letter so that we continue serving the people of Kenya through this budget. Mr. Speaker, also, in terms of policy, we will endeavor to do the best, Mr. Speaker, because as members are aware, the budget itself, that is government spending and government expenditure, accounts for only around 22% of our GDP. And therefore, even in regards to, Mr. Speaker, the policy, we will continue serving the people of Kenya to make agriculture viable for our farmers, to streamline, Mr. Speaker, our education, and to put all the resources into various value chains. Mr. Speaker, I thank all the members. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the National Treasury. I thank the membership of Budget, all the departmental chairs, Mr. Speaker, and all the members of this House from both sides. And Mr. Speaker, having said that, I beg to reply.
I'll now put the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates for the national government, the judiciary, and Parliament for the financial year 2023-24, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023, and pursuant the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239-1, approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,308,410,784,957 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2024, in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule to the order paper subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2, make the policy and financial resolutions as contained in the second schedule to the order paper. 3, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, consideration of estimates in the Committee of Supply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
The next order. Order number 10.
Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members, take your seats. Take your seats. Honorable members, you very well know the rules that apply and govern divisions. You have not observed the rules and you have no capacity to call for division in this matter. Next order. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, ratification of the amended Nairobi Convention and the protocol for the protection of the marine and coastal environment of the Western Indian Ocean from land-based sources and activities.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Environment, Forest and Mining. Yes, sir.
Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence because the Chair, Environment,
yes,
is not in the House, and therefore beg to adjourn that particular motion until a time when the chair was engaged elsewhere, Honorable Speaker. We beg your indulgence and order the House to step down that business for today. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker had indicated that the Chair of Environment is away from the House this afternoon, and he had not anticipated, Honorable Speaker, that we will get to this business in the course of this afternoon, and therefore beg to ask that orders listed as motion, order number 10, order number 11, order number 12, be stepped down this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, since the chair who would have moved those had requested for time out this afternoon. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Number 10, 11. Honorable members, orders 10, 11, and 12 are stepped down for this afternoon. Call out order number 13.
Order number 13, motion, report on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption meeting.
Leader of delegation to this United Nations Convention is in the House. Shakil Shabir is in the House. The matter is also stayed. Order number 14.
Order number 14, the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022, second reading.
Honorable Speaker, as indicated, even order number 14 on the Miscellaneous Statute Amendment Bill, Honorable Speaker, there are still two chairs of committees who were to finalize their committee reports, and we had not intended to actually reach to this order in the course of this afternoon, and therefore seek your indulgence to also step it down for today.
Honorable Minority Leader, you call for a point of order when something is out of order. But you are calling for a point of order when you yourself is not in a disorderly position. You have remained standing throughout the proceedings, contrary to the standing orders. You have countenanced an unlawful choir in the House as the proceedings are going on. And you cannot benefit from the standing orders if you don't observe them. Honorable members, we have come to the last order of the day, and I order that the House now stand adjourned until Tuesday, the Tuesday, 13th of June 2023 at 2:30 p.m.